Welcome, marvelous makers,
and art appreciators,
to the ArtSpace podcast,
brought to you by Lemon Street Gallery and ArtSpace,
located at 4601 Sheridan Road.
We'd love to see you stop by Lemon Street sometime. We're so grateful that they're giving us the space to work out of. The heater is a little noisy, but you probably can't even hear that right now because these magic microphones are filtering that out. Unless they aren't, in which case, yell at us. Find me somehow, dear listener, and tell me to fix the problems.
Yes. Tell us all the problems. This is our baby podcast, baby's first podcast, and
there's going to be problems. There better be problems. If we don't have anything to fix, I'm going to be scared because that means
we're too good.
Yeah.
We don't go up.
Yeah.
We don't go up from here.
We need a place to go up. I need a goal in mind. I need a higher plane.
Yes.
Or else we have problems, and then things are fine because we have problems. So
yeah,
it's a self-fixing problem.
Trust me.
This is my bid on problems. I'm doing a tight 5 at Kenosha Fusion this weekend. Call it the problem set.
Okay, good.
I've got 99 problems.
This podcast
is not. It is not one.
It better be.
Unless you tell me it's one.
Okay.
Then I'll have 100 problems.
Make it a round number.
Yeah. It's cleaner that way.
Mm-hmm. Concise. All right. That was nice.
Yeah.
I like that. It did flow into some conversation of like, come visit us and then talk. So.
Yeah. And we can make some jokes back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind being teased. If I stumble or something, go for it. It's good content.
Ugh, I'm going to flub over my words all the time.
That's okay. Good content.
I don't know.
You know what I think we should do? We have a list of questions. We have a skeleton, let's say, for the show. Mm-hmm. We just need an artist to ask them the questions. Mm-hmm. And I happen to have one right here in front of me.
Oh, me.
So what if for episode 0, we try out these questions?
Sure. I like that.
On Miss Shelby here.
Ah.
Oh, I'm going to need that.
Yeah, you take it.
Well, you're also testing out your own question asking skills because this is also a dry run for you. So we don't want to rob you of your dry run.
I am unaware of these questions.
You're supposed to be a little aware because we told you ahead of time.
Shoot.
But only some of them.
I didn't
Some of them will be a surprise to you.
I didn't read the email.
Yeah. Oh, got to read those emails. All right, Shelby, what got you into art?
I got into art. I've always wanted to be an artist when I was a kid.
Knew from day one.
Day one. I was like, I want to be an artist.
Because I definitely had a work at KFC phase because I wanted to eat as much chicken as possible. I had a gym teacher phase. You were immediate artist.
It was immediate artist, but then it flubbed and flowed into, I want to be a marine biologist. Mm-hmm. So I got my certification in scuba diving, and I went all over the place. I wanted to be an architect. I wanted to...
Well, architect ties into art quite a bit.
Yes, but I'm bad at math, and I can't be an architect with math.
You have to figure out how much a brick can hold and weigh.
Yes.
And probably that's it. That's all the math. No,
Yep.
Couldn't figure that out.
I couldn't figure that out. I couldn't do that math. And I really fell in love with science too, because I went to Indian Trail and went into the science academy there. I really got drawn to science and just nature in general. And as I went to college at UW Parkside, I originally want to be a biology major. And I was like, I'm going to do biology, and this is going to be so much fun. I'm going to learn about just the world around us, kind of art.
Did you feel like you had to go into science because you did science specifically in high school? What'd you call it, a science academy?
Yeah, a science academy. So they had classes kind of streamlined for science.
People who want to go into science.
Yes. They had a communications academy where they streamline you for art and communications.
But you didn't do that.
I didn't do that. I was in this phase where I was obsessed with just science and how things worked. I was trying to break down just things around me of just how does this function in nature. So that I fell in love with that aspect of science, and then went into college, I took my first chemistry class in my, because in high school, I actually did not take a chemistry class.
Really? Even
Yep.
though you were in the science academy?
Yep. I'm not going to say anything about the teachers there,
Uh-huh.
but I did not learn chemistry.
Oh,
I will put it that way.
okay. So it's funny because ITA, when I was in high school, it wasn't really a high school yet. Yes, I'm very old. Let's get that out of the way. Very old. Age starts with a 3, and it's
Gasp.
double digits.
You're 3 years
I'm
old?
not 3 years old. That's the other one. When I was in high school, it wasn't a real high school. It was like military academy or something. It was like, yeah,
The KMA.
yeah. So it was like, if you don't shape up, kid, I'm sending you to ITA. That was like the thing. But
Oh no.
that was back in the olden days. But anyways, yeah.
Yeah, being in the academy, there was a lot of wonderful supportive teachers that kept pushing me to keep pursuing science, like the good things that you see in science, you can keep pursuing that. You don't have to learn chemistry or whatever exactly to a T when you get your biology degree, because I struggled with that a lot because that involves math, and math is just my weak point.
Yeah.
And
When you were in high school, and I'm going to ask you later if it's annoying that I keep interrupting you.
no.
Okay. When you were in high school, were you doing art like in your free time?
I really wasn't doing art in high school. I was zoned in on science and what I could do. I I was so into the human body, of like how it functions. Like we're just these beings walking around with these complex systems, and like it just rattled my brain, and I wanted to even be a pathologist assistant at some point because I was just so fascinated with the structures in our body.
Specifically human biology then.
Yes, it formed later on into human biology. I was kind of obsessed with marine biology, with plants and like marine zoology, and that was kind of like a weird phase that I had. I was just very obsessed with like underwater animals, and I wanted to discover a species underwater. That was my
Discover
goal.
one.
Yes, I wanted to discover one and name it. I had these big plans.
Did you have names picked out?
I did not.
Oh. Shelby Saurus.
Yeah, I was gonna base it off of some aspect of it, probably.
All right, yeah, you got to. Or where you found it or whatever.
Yeah, he's the little squishy.
Little squishy.
Yeah. Yeah, I was really absorbed with science at that time, and then I got into college, and you have to take your gen eds. And I was taking some gen eds, and I'm like, oh, I remember doing art.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that as a kid, and like in middle school, I had a teacher named Miss Watson. She loved the work that I did, and when I was in middle school in a ceramics class, and she helped me get a $5,000 scholarship for college.
Ooh.
Because she wanted me to pursue art. She said, "You have a gift. I'm going to help you use it."
How did she know that you had a gift?
I don't know. She just saw my ceramics.
So you're doing art now?
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I'm doing art now.
No, I mean, when you're interacting with this individual who saw your gift.
Yes, I was in middle school. She was the ceramics teacher there.
Okay,
and,
middle school, yes.
Middle school. She saw that. I was like, okay, I'm okay at art. Like I was really doubting myself as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just this kid making art,
Mm-hmm.
slapping some mud together in ceramics, and you're gonna try and get me a $5,000 scholarship just because. And she's like, well, like I see a talent in you that you need to pursue.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I didn't end up getting the $5,000 scholarship because I didn't go into art. I went into science. I was very into science, and I felt like, I mean, I didn't see her afterwards, because obviously I was in high school. I didn't go back to my middle school. I'm not the type of person that visits my middle school and high school, like those type of people. Or like, I'm in college now, let me go visit my high school. Thank you.
I did do that. I will admit.
No, thank you. High school was a dark time for me.
Oh, very much so. Me too. I hated it.
But
College was better.
I did not want to go back, so I just kind of left high school in the past, and I never saw her, but I feel like I broke her heart. If she knew, I would have broken her heart.
Yeah.
That I did not go into art. I didn't go in the communications academy. I went into the Science Academy. And I mean, I learned so much, but then when I got to college, I took my gen eds, and then I started with a intro to 3D class, and it just hit me all over again, like bam, like, oh my gosh, I love art. Why did I give up on art? Like,
Here is the Jake breaking in because he doesn't understand something. Intro to 3D. What's that mean?
So in college, we work on, there's different processes that you can make things in 3-dimensional through like lamination, whereas lamination is you take layers of things to build up a figure. We did like plaster castings, just working in a 3-dimensional medium, but at its very basic level.
So you're physically making things.
Yep.
Okay.
Physically making.
When I heard that, I was picturing like at a computer working with like software to like design like
Nope,
pieces.
we're carving.
No, okay.
We're carving, we're making a mess.
Cool.
And gluing things together and super gluing your fingers together. That kind of fun. But I took that class and it snapped back to me of just like, why did I get away from art? Like, I loved making it and just putting my thought and creativity into something. And maybe that's why I was drawn to science, was the creative problem solving of science. But I found out that I was in love with science on an artistic level. Seeing those structures and how they worked and how they flowed. And I just really liked the anatomical structures. And it was hard to deny that. Like, that's why I went into art. For purely artistic reasons, I started thinking, I'm like, why? Why did this happen? Why did I have this like offshoot road of love of science? Makes no sense, but that's just the way life goes. And I learned a lot. And to this day, I still try and factor in scientific aspects into my work. For my senior show, it dawned on me very clearly why I was in love with science. And I made this visual representation of memories and how chemicals interact with memories and how you associate certain places with people in your memories. And I did a visual representation of that. I welded anatomical structures, or not anatomical structures, chemical structures, but like I bent them so they took up 3-dimensional space instead of just being flat steel welded into these shapes.
Okay.
So I really had fun with it. I'm very proud of that piece that I've done. So
now, at what point did you in college transition from science to art? Maybe both mentally and like literally on paper?
Literally on paper, I did it, I think, sophomore year. I said, I can't do these chemistry classes anymore. Yeah, no, I'm switching to art. Okay. And the moment I switched, it was just all the science stuff kind of got thrown out the window, but I was still aware of where I came from in that journey of going through science.
Okay.
And that I needed to still represent it. The moment that I changed it on paper, in my head, I was at the same level of just, I need to do this. And I'm going to find a way, I'm going to make a way that I can do this. I remember my mom, when I told her the decision, she cried.
Oh.
She cried because having a childhood where we didn't have a lot of money, and she was wanting me to go into this very prosperous career and having a lot of money in science, and I was just like, I'm sorry, I can't. I would regret every moment if I did not pursue art.
So many people see art as no future, the starving artist, as they say. Yeah. And yeah, and
I kind of wanted to prove her wrong on that aspect too, of just like, I will find a way and make a way that I can do this. And you don't need to, we don't need to worry about financials. I'm going to find a way. I mean, I'm very grateful that I did get grants in school and stuff, and I scrounged up as much money as I could find for it. So like, I'm very thankful that I don't have any loans or anything like that, because that gives me the freedom to pursue what I love. And that's what I'm doing right now. And I'm very thankful for that.
Oh, that's good. I don't know how much time we spent on question number 1, but
18 minutes.
Well, that's we had a little preamble before.
Yeah.
But Shelby, what is your earliest art memory?
My earliest art memory. This will take me a second because I was not emailed this ahead of time.
I think this is on our list that we are emailing out, right?
Yes,
We'll have to go through that.
Yes, this one will be on an email.
This is where I will need to vamp in order for you to decide what thing you're going to go with. And so I should say my earliest art memory is, I also don't know.
Okay, mine is the moment I made a piece of pottery on the pottery wheel. I remember it being done and being like, this thing is so ugly. Like, ew, what? And it is ugly. It's misshapen and everything, but it was the first time I tried a pottery wheel, and it was a kick wheel, and those are hard to work. And as a
You're using your feet?
Yes, you're just using your feet to propel the wheel.
I've never used a pottery wheel.
Oh, okay. Well, and as a kid, it's hard because you need a lot of upper body strength. You need a lot of forearm strength to throw on a wheel.
To throw?
Yes, to throw.
What's throw mean?
So basically, they say...
You have to take the clay and just kind of chuck it across the room, hope it lands on the wheel?
No,
Okay.
you put it on the wheel head, so it's the flat surface of the wheel. And throwing it, it's called throwing because as you add water, little bits of clay will come off, and you're kind of throwing it.
The clay will come off of the big chunk of clay?
Yes. So the big chunk of clay will be centered in the middle, but as you add water, like it's dirt, it's pretty much dirt on the...
Oh, it's like
wheel.
dry when you put it on there?
Yeah, it's dry.
Wow.
So then you add water to soften it to throw.
Uh-huh.
Or to make your vessel. I'm not going to use the word throw,
okay.
But to make your vessel. But then when you add that water, just like you add water to dirt, you make mud.
Yeah.
So that little bit of moisture will get thrown off as you're throwing, or as the wheel is spinning. Just centrifugal force is going to have it come off.
So you're going to get messy.
Yes, you're going to get messy.
Okay.
And that's why they call it throwing.
And that's why you wear an apron.
Yes.
I hope Betsy couldn't hear my ignorance downstairs.
At least someone's explaining it.
I took a class with her too, but it wasn't on the wheel.
Oh.
It was called hand building or something like that.
Hand building.
And I made a coffee cup.
Oh, nice.
See, I am kind of an artist. I'm not an artist.
But it was that moment when I made that ugly little, I wanted to call it an ashtray. A lot of kids make ashtrays in ceramic houses. Granted, no one really smokes anymore, but I made this little misshapen thing, and I was just like, it's so ugly. I want to throw it away. But then the teacher told me, she said, no, keep it. This is your first ever thrown piece.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like 12.
Mm-hmm.
Most 12-year-old, it's hard to throw. Like, you need to keep going, but keep this as a reminder to keep going. And I was just like, I'm gonna keep going. And it was just like a nice moment of, she let me try something new, because she doesn't let all the kids try the wheel.
Okay.
Because they can, I mean, you're in middle school, kids kicking wheels and whatnot.
I would break it.
Yeah. So she was like, you seem to really want to try this. Go ahead, try it. And I made this little turd, and I painted it blue.
Because you can't paint it brown.
Yeah, no. I painted it like sky blue, and I still have it. And it's nice to look at it and reflect and know that I'm still going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember mine now. I don't know if this is literally my earliest, but this is what that story reminded me of.
Mm-hmm.
I was in middle school. We called it junior high school because it was only 7th and 8th grade. Went to Catholic school from K through 8.
Ooh.
And so, I was at St. Joe's. I took art class. I don't even remember what the unit was called or whatever, but we were doing like weaving, and we like made like looms, quote unquote, out of cardboard and like dental floss basically. And then they just took some yarn and wove it through the dental floss back and forth, and it took forever. But then at the end of the day, you get like a thing. It becomes a fabric. You've made fabric. Congratulations. And it just blew my mind. Like the idea that I made fabric. Like how to, I didn't even, it wasn't even that hard. I just had to do this over and over again. It was just repetitive. and I can do repetitive, you know? So and I'm like, I'm going to make another one. That's like the only time in art ever that like I was like going home and doing it because I liked it. And I would do it all the time. I probably up to like 5 years later when I was too old to be doing little like kiddie arts and crafts like that. And then from there I got into crocheting and there got into knitting a little bit, and I still do that to this day just because I think it's amazing to make a fabric.
You made a thing that you can wear.
I took a stick and I made it into a flat. I transcended dimensions.
Yes.
I went from, what is that, second dimension to third? No, first to second.
Well, technically, if you're talking about like a yarn, it's still three-dimensional.
Well, technically. But it's like, you know what I'm doing? I'm going like, because like for 0 is dot.
Yes.
And then there's line, and then there's square, and then there's cube,
Cube.
I'm not going cube, but I'm going from line to square.
Okay.
That's in my mind.
Yes. You're turning a singular into a multitude.
Yes. That's what that reminded me of.
You've upgraded it from just yarn to big sheet of fabric.
It is an upgrade.
Nice.
We got question number 3. Shelby, who was an influence in your artistic life?
I would have to say Miss Watson, and she was a cheerleader for me. I don't know what she actually produced at that time. I'm assuming ceramics. I know I think she's still producing to this day. I should reach out to her.
Well, there you go.
I should.
That is your homework for tonight.
Reach out to her and let her know that I'm going to talk about her on a podcast.
Potentially. I don't know if we're releasing this.
Yeah, but... And then in terms of like someone that influences me artistically, and she really motivated me to make, but like an artist that I like personally, a local artist, Carly Lyons, her work, I love how she integrates gems and geodes and stuff into her work and makes ceramics more mixed media. Because I'm the type of person that likes a million things going on. I know a lot of things. Yes.
Jake interrupting with ignorance yet again. Mixed media. I've heard this several times.
Yes.
Including this past Sunday at the Lemon Street annual meeting.
Yes.
And I'm sitting there going, mixed media? Like, what the heck? I'm thinking like, you got music, you got TV, you got movies, and you mix them all together. Mixed media. Pretty
much. That is what it is in the art world. You're taking multiple techniques or different mediums and you're mixing them together. Like you're taking collage work with some drawing, and then maybe you embroider a corner of it. It's just an amalgamation of different mediums.
So the media in this sense is plural for medium, as it always is. But the medium means like the style, not style, like
the technique.
The technique, like watercolor would be a medium.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So what would be an example of you mentioned you brought up mixed media. What would be an example of what you were doing?
I do trying to think of a piece that I've done. I mean, I've done some printmaking mixed with watercolor before. I've done some embroidery on paper and like made a collage out of that. So that's a form of mixed media. I just like
you were talking about Carly, right?
Oh, yes, but that's what I've done in terms of mixed media.
Okay.
What Carly has done in terms of mixed media, she has incorporated a non-traditional piece into her ceramics. So traditionally you would not have crystals and geodes and fossils involved in your piece of ceramics. That's not typically what you do. You're bringing another element in that isn't typically grouped with the medium. So I personally kind of, she falls more into mixed media for me.
Okay.
I mean, herself, she might call herself a ceramicist,
Right.
and that's fine. That's just how I see it.
Mhm.
As a mixed media artist, I can relate to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, she'll attach geodes and beautiful gems to her figures of like female busts and stuff like that. And she kind of I can see her exploring her emotions through her art, which I like to do that as well. So I really relate to that and the feelings that she creates with her pieces.
I completely agree. I'm a big fan of Carly too. I was talking to her on Sunday, and I think she will be a future guest on this podcast.
Well, of course, she's my favorite.
All right, we got other questions.
Other questions.
I'm
And we're
definitely bringing a piece of paper next time.
30 minutes right now.
Oh wow. Okay. Who is your favorite artist? Period.
Well, I just got I'm talking about my favorite artist, Carly.
Favorite of all time?
Well, not favorite of all time. She's my favorite local artist.
Well, that's part 2 of the question there.
I'm trying to look up her name. She is currently my wallpaper, and that does not seem well. That I can't remember her name. She's the wallpaper on my iPad.
Okay. I can verify this is a beautiful wallpaper.
But yes, it's the artist that is my wallpaper. It's a beautiful color abstract. She has a lot of work. Well, I don't know about a lot of work. She has work at the Milwaukee Art Museum, and she's a contemporary artist.
Is she local?
I don't think she is.
Probably not.
I know she has passed away, but she is.
Now, when you say contemporary artist, to me that means currently operating. But what does that mean?
I believe the term of contemporary means that obviously art movements have kind of eras laid out in timeline. So I'm not sure where the contemporary artist timeline era starts, but basically it's some form of modern art. It is more not something exactly produced in a particular style because it doesn't fit into other eras.
Okay.
So we get into the abstracts like Kandinsky. I mean, technically Kandinsky can fall into some form of cubism, but you get into more modern abstracts under contemporary art. I mean, let me look up the actual definition because I feel like I'm dumb.
I have to know the answer.
Contemporary art is the art of today produced in the second half of the 20th century or the 21st century.
Okay. So since 1950.
And it works in a global influence. So it's not sometimes you get Renaissance where that is isolated to mainly like Italy. But contemporary art, it's today all over the place, everywhere.
Okay.
So
I feel like the first couple questions we spent a lot of time on, and now we're blazing through them. We covered local artists a bit too, so we'll just skip that. What's your motivation to create?
I create to process emotions, just to get my feelings out there, to feel heard, to put my feelings in a different form so I can understand them. It's like I'm producing in my own language, and I'm kind of letting it go by making this piece of art of just, I've processed it. I was feeling sad. That was my motivation for making XYZ piece. So yeah, I do it a lot to process.
You'd consider cathartic, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then there are times where I do produce for art's sake, which means I have no purpose. I just like it aesthetically, and I just produce it. It's an idea in my head. It has no motivation.
Do you ever go, man, I need $20 right now. Let me go paint something. Like, is money ever a motivator for you?
Right now in my life, no. I'm not currently producing. I mean, I've done a little for this recent show, but money was not the goal.
Right.
If I made it along the way, I'm not going to be upset.
Obviously. It's probably a background goal for everybody.
Yes.
But it's not the main goal, or even one of the main goals maybe for you.
Yes. It's not a main goal right now because I'm very focused on Lemon Street and getting it to be the best it can be. So, I mean, for this recent show, my motivation was Lemon Street so that we would have a show. We would have something going on. Because unfortunately our February plans fell through. So Lemon Street was a motivation, weirdly, for this too.
Which were the pieces that you specifically made for the show?
I did 3 pieces of printmaking. I
Mhm.
had a bunch of prints. I had some screen prints. I had some lino cuts.
Mm-hmm. Oh, what's a lino cut? I have to pretend I don't know this one because I already learned it.
Yeah, a lino cut is you get a piece of linoleum, and not like the stuff that you walk on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Some linoleum that it's a soft medium that you can carve with carving tools, and you carve out the negative of your image, and because the ink is not going to sit on the parts that you have carved away, so just the flat raised surface will get rolled with ink, and then it's basically just making a big stamp.
Yeah.
So I made a big stamp.
And then you stamped that stamp.
Yes, and I stamped that stamp, and I stamped it on some newsprint and made an installation, a very large installation. I'm really starting to get into installation pieces. I like the idea of creating an environment and an experience. It's not just going in and like viewing some framed piece of art. Yes, that can be just as impactful, but I feel like creating this environment and playing with size and making things grand can really put you into a different viewing place to view the art.
So let me see if I can pick up from context what an installation piece is. It's not just so much part of the art is how it is there, like the manner in which you're seeing it, not just it itself. Correct?
Yes. And installations are very hard to sell because they're things that need to be installed. It's an installation.
Yeah. And the context probably informs it,
Yes. I mean, not always, because sometimes you don't need context to view it. You could just show up, take what you personally know, what your personal connections are, and create ideas with it and run with things. Which I like to do that with art too. I don't like to have always these concrete meetings because people have so many different experiences that they can bring to the table and connect to your art personally.
Right.
So I feel like installations are a good way of doing that. You create an environment. They kind of infer from what they know going into this. They imply their own feelings to things. You kind of just let them run with it, the viewer. And you just set up an environment and say, go make of it of what you make of it. Go see connections that you haven't thought about before.
And I'm sure different artists approach that differently. I'm sure there are some that say, no, this is what I intended. What you think is wrong because it's my art. I made it, but others that would say the whole point of me making it was to inspire emotions, thoughts, ideas in those around me that are viewing it. So,
yeah. And I really like making connections. Realizing that we are weirdly connected, and you can find connections in art of just, oh, I didn't think she would do this because of this, but it's sitting next to, like, say a blue piece is sitting next to a blue piece. Well, maybe I didn't match it because it's a blue piece sitting next to a blue piece. It's the organic lines in one piece that connects it to another organic line in the other piece. So it's finding things that are similar yet different. It's like kind of like an I Spy. Just what do you see in all of this?
Now, when you create something and maybe you hide some sort of, we'll call them Easter eggs in there, little joke, maybe not even jokes isn't the right term, but just an interesting thing in there. When you put that in there and then you let people view it and they don't pick up on it, are you disappointed? Are you ambivalent?
I'm not disappointed if I have a connection and someone is not seeing that connection. I also think it's a good chance to start a dialogue. Let's talk about this art. What do you see in this art? And then I can tell them, well, what I see. And it's good to see that you can have different perspectives in the same piece of art, and I really like that, and I really enjoy having conversations of just, oh, I saw it as blue next to blue, and then I said, well, I saw it as organic line next to organic line.
Yeah.
And they're just like, huh, I didn't think of it like that. It's like, yeah, I didn't think of blue next to blue either. So it's a dialogue, it's a relationship that you can also establish of just like noting a different perspective of your piece of art. I think is very valuable to an artist.
Do you think it's, you said it's valuable and important, but do you think it's 100% necessary to have a dialogue? Like, because art can be, you don't have to stand next to your painting the entire time to explain it to everybody that walks up, So.
Yeah, if they walk away with a connection and I don't talk about it, they don't know my original intent and they just walk away, that's fine. They have their connection. I do feel like art needs to be talked about.
You like to be there to explain it.
Yes.
Do you think most artists like to stand next to their piece and tell people about it?
Not always. There's some artists that just want their thing to exist in whatever form that it is on the wall, or just want people to interpret their own way and walk off. But me personally, I like having conversations about it, seeing their perspective, because I've got my one and only. So I think taking a step into someone else's is interesting. Okay. And art lets you do that as well, because if you do view art, you're seeing someone else's perspective, and it's just how you interpret it.
True.
Art, in a sense, is already that one perspective. It's just how it's interpreted from there. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh, we have more questions. What would be your dream project?
My dream project. This is a dream project that we're doing right now.
Oh,
podcast? Podcast.
Do you consider a podcast to be art? Is this art?
Ooh. It's a gray area.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah, it's a gray area.
My instinct was to say no, but
I say yes because it is some form of entertainment, and to have some form of entertainment, I feel like you have to be some form of artistic. If that makes sense. And some element of it has to be artistically.
There's a creation being involved here, So I could see the argument that it's art.
Yeah, and I mean, because who knows, it might just be all a performance. The thought of crafting deep conversation, I think, can be artfully done.
Like performance is art. Obviously, we're going to have performance artists on during the course of this podcast, undoubtedly. Hopefully.
Fingers crossed. So
we include that in art too. We may focus on the physical.
Visual art.
Yeah, visual art. Is that like fine arts? Is that the same thing?
Fine arts is not, fine arts.
I heard people say fine arts a lot, and I picture like ballet. I don't know why.
Fine arts, that usually falls into one of the main kind of honed in crafts, like either oil painting or just really people that have been producing at a high level for so long, like Rembrandt. He's fine art.
Okay.
He's an oil painter, and it's up to your own interpretation what fine art is.
Okay.
Visual art is anything that you could just see visually.
Do you think fine art is specifically visual art?
No, I think fine art can be performance.
Okay. I'm not just asking your opinion. I'm asking like how it is treated, but I don't know.
I mean, yeah, there's like opera and ballet that could be seen more as fine art.
I just think of it as fancy stuff.
Yeah. It's people that
it's
have
not
really
graffiti.
Yes. It's people that personally, what I think fine art is people who have really honed their craft to a very specific high level. That's what I consider fine art. To me, it could be in any medium. It could be graffiti, but you've...
I wasn't saying the graffiti shouldn't be.
Yes.
I was just saying the common conception currently or in the past.
Yeah. And visual art, that's... I'd say visual art is anything that is not performance.
Right.
Because performance art has performance art, visual, anything that you can see in a 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional space.
Okay.
Kind of.
It's an object,
Yes.
not a person doing a thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Because there's performance art. So, yeah.
What about body art?
Body art, tattoos.
That's a person, but they're not performing.
You're talking like tattoos
Yeah.
or like what? Oh, yeah.
Is that a visual art then, or is that a performance art? It's not performing. Yeah, it'd be visual.
I think
Because
it's
the art
both.
is the object. Is the yeah.
I think it's both.
Okay. Ooh, okay.
Ooh, yes.
Anyways, back to Dream Project. You've had enough time to vamp now.
Dream project. This is a big project for me. I really wanted to do this and have people talk about art, help the art community and everything. But in terms of what I'm creating, I would really like to expand upon my senior show of memories and how we connect them with chemicals and color associated with certain people, locations associated with certain people. I'd really like to expand upon that and go in depth in that and make it a very interactive installation, like factor in smell to memories, like really dive deep into how human memory works. Because I think it's fascinating how we can recall these things or see a color and associate that with a person in our lives.
Okay. We have potentially our final question. We're not sure yet. It's the last one on the sheet right now.
Ooh.
Shelby, what are your feelings about the art community here?
I think the art community, I'll scale this up. I'll go slow. At the terms of Lemon Street, I think we are full of love, really working towards something bigger and trying to help the community and not so much just the art community. We have big goals and we want to be more of an asset and really help everyday people if we can. Which I think that's important, is that we get art in the everyday person, because then if you don't see it, you don't remember it. So if we're there, we're visually there, we're reminders that art exists and that it needs to be appreciated.
Do you think we're doing a good job of doing that?
I think that we're doing a good job. We're getting more involved in community events and just trying to participate more in everyday people's lives through our art core and everything. Just having art at a library where you don't expect to see local art and everything, or just have art in different locations so you're reminded that it does exist and that it is important to the community. And so scaling up from there, I really like Lemon Street's art community. Looking at it with a wider lens, Kenosha, I think we could do a little better communicating. I know that with like the Kenosha Art Market and the Union Park Art District, we can kind of get together and collaborate with different artistic businesses and everything like that and come together that way. I feel like working on communication, trying to maybe do more collaborative work, and just coming together and being more open if we are having issues with something, be more willing to lend a hand. Just communication. And as a whole, the big old meal and entree of it all, I would say that we are working all good independently. I don't think we need, a lot of people are saying that, Racine and Kenosha need to team up and come together and work on stuff. Yes, I think there should be some communication about projects maybe, or maybe some goals, but overall I think they should work independently. Racine should have their identity, their artist identity there, and Kenosha should have our artist Kenosha. Or Kenosha artists should have their identity there. And I don't think that we necessarily need to be one big, happy, coexisting thing, and that we should operate independently.
You can collaborate within that, having, but you don't have to see yourself as the same.
Yes.
You can celebrate the differences and then team up and create something all the better for it.
Yeah. Like when we had Get Behind the Arts, that really was a nice bridge between the two, but wasn't like this strict unification of them all. It was a nice way to get involved with your neighbor, but not fuse this thing together. Like we need to have our just be on our own and times where we can be together. So
yeah, I hope we have another event like that in the future that can help unite us. Not in, like you said, not entirely exclusively united, but coming together and
saying hi to your neighbor.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think we need a little bit more of that too, saying hi to your neighbor, even on smaller levels. Yeah, go check out new places, because Kenosha is just crawling with art. And I don't think a lot of people realize it. And I'm hoping this podcast will change that.
Yeah, so we have a platform now to try to inform some people and get the word out a little bit. You know, we got a lot of art all over.
Yeah.
Murals, public art, sculpture walk, art galleries, you know. So just we want people to get out and enjoy it, know about it, celebrate it.
Yeah.
And make some more.
Yes. Always be making. Yeah, you can't find me anywhere because I'm not going to be making anything.
That's our last question. Where do we find you?
You're gonna find me here at Lemon Street.
Okay. I was hoping you would say that.
You're gonna find me here. I'm going to be very slowly, casually making stuff in the background, but you cannot find my art really anywhere, and that's okay.
So stop on down your local citrus-themed art gallery and say hi to Shelby. And she has a show going on in February, and you are very unlikely listening to this in February.
Yeah.
But you could come and see some of her pieces,
Some of
her quirky works.
Yeah, quirky. Yeah, we're all good.
Well then,
bye.
Restlessness cages the fire we need. We're here to inspire.